Hey everybody, it's Dave and Sean here from Saturday Morning Cartoons here with this week's sponsor. Sean, buddy, you probably try to hit your 3 square meals a day, right?
Try to.
You're a healthy guy.
Definitely try to.
Yeah,
I try to be there.
Watching those calories, got to get that intake, 3 square meals.
Got to make sure I keep under that 2,000 K a day.
Yeah, sure, whatever. But I mean, in between those meals, what happens if you get hungry?
Ooh, I want a snack.
I want a snack, right? But you know what? I mean, there's subscription services out there that offer all kinds of like healthy, decent snacking alternatives. That's garbage. Nobody really wants that. So this week's sponsor is Fat Snacks. Now, Fat Snacks is something different. Fat Snacks is just going to give you what you want, when you want it, and as much as you want without asking any questions. They don't care if you're into like a healthy lifestyle or not. They're going to load you up with Cheetos, Fritos, Doritos, everything that rhymes with those. Sean, buddy, what is your favorite snack from fatsnacks.com?
Oh man, right now I am loving some cheese curls. Some white cheddar cheese curls are pretty much in my face right now.
Yeah, they are. I can see you got a little coming out there on the sides. But
yeah,
I'll tell you what my new favorite is. I just sent this one this week. It is a full pierogi that is filled with meatballs that's been deep fried and then coated in an Oreo cream. And it makes no sense, but it's one of the most delicious, fattening things I've ever had. And I want our listeners out there to get a chance to try Fat Snacks for themselves. So how can they get a special offer?
So you can head over to fatsnacks.com/SMC. And in the coupon code, you can enter in morning. Remember, that's morning with a U for absolutely not a damn thing.
No, sounds great. Not real.
Guys, we don't want to do these ads.
Ever again.
And we don't think that you want to have ads at the beginning of the show either. And so we want to keep this show as ad-free as possible. And so we're hoping to do that through patreon.com. And so if you head over to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Cartoons, you can donate to our show. And for the price of a cup of coffee once a month, you can support high-quality podcasting like Saturday Morning Cartoons.
And as a shout-out to some of our fellow patrons out there who already have supported the show in our first month, we want to give a special thank you to the following. So we've got Derek Haynes, Jason Woods, Melanie Harker, Allison Keene, and Sean Paul Ellis.
As well as also Dave Trumbore. Now, some of those names may seem very, very familiar to you, and the reason is because we want you to know that we, as members of this show, are also supporting this show as well.
Yeah, so we're definitely throwing in our own cash on the side. We don't expect you guys to front everything. We just need a little bit of help because we can't do it all on our own. We have a lot of big, ambitious ideas going forward. So, once again, patreon.com/Saturday Morning Cartoons. We appreciate your support, sharing, and any pledges that you have.
And now, on with the show.
Hello and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons, the weekly podcast that revisits, reviews, and ridicules some of the world's weirdest animated series. Coming to you from the planet Symbion, I'll be your terror trooper, Dave Trumbore. Joining me, as always, straight from the Shining Realm, it's Sean Paul Ellis. How's it going, Sean?
David, I'm doing well, buddy. How about yourself?
I'm thrilled to be getting back into some wacky-ass cartoons. I mean, New Year's Nicktoons was great. I love revisiting those and exploring some new cartoons that I'm not familiar with. But now that we are square in Listener Appreciation Month here in February,
Ooh.
Man, you guys picked some good ones. And by good ones, I mean terrible ones. Because that's what we love here, though. I either love to hate on a cartoon or I love to love a cartoon. And this one tonight is going to give me one of those options, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah. How about you,
okay.
bud? How do you feel about this one? I know you've got some history with it, though.
Yeah, I do. I watched Sectaurs.
Yeah.
And I owned a bunch of action figures. I owned at least 2 or 3 of the action figures. In fact, they had probably one of the most memorable action figures from when I was a kid, because it was one of the I can't remember if it was our main villain's insectoid that he would ride on, but what you would do is it was like a glove and you would slide your hand into the bottom of it, and that would be the feet of the insect.
We should have warned our younger listeners out there. This is going to be a graphic and mature episode.
You know,
so
I'm gonna be honest.
You might want to send them in the other room. If you know what I'm talking about.
honestly, at this point, if they don't realize how rated R this show is, this is on you.
That's true, but hey, why don't you go back and tell me how you slid your hand into a spider's ass when you were a kid?
So I used to fist this
Got
spider,
it.
and then I put an action figure on top of my arm, and he'd ride my fisted spider, and then we'd fly around, and that was the Sectaurs.
And lo and behold,
was a pretty cool
Sectaurs
thing.
stole that idea from you when you were a kid.
Yeah, sometimes you'd play toys with like your parents or something like that, and like maybe your dad would fist the giant insectoid that was there. Who knows, Dave? You're raising your eyebrow right now, but there's a whole world of fisting insects that you weren't involved in like 1986, 1987. This is important stuff to me.
I have so many other things, traumatic events from my childhood to tell my counselors about that this one escaped me. But since we watched it for this episode, I now feel a little bit of that trauma as well. So,
Aww.
did not know that there was a hand-fisted spider toy that went along with these, but I'm thrilled to know it now.
But I will say, in all honesty, like having a part of your body become part of the action figure, that was pretty rad. I really did like that.
Because normally, like all you can do is just kind of like grab it by its haunches and just kind of like move it around like it's a living thing, and that's anything from like cowboys and Indians to dino riders or whatever. That's how you do it. So it's kind of cool that they came up with a novel idea of how you can actually get involved in the. I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it was like Power Glove before Power Glove came out,
and still more functional than Power Glove.
It's 100% more functional than Power Glove.
That's cool. I might actually give this cartoon an extra bump in my rating and recommendation just because of Spider Fister. So that's fun. I don't think it made it into our history though, our Spider Fisting history. So can you give the folks out there a little bit of a history lesson on Sectaurs?
Absolutely. Sectaurs, Warriors of Symbion, created by Tim Clark and Maureen Trotto, was a line of action figures released by Connecticut Leather Company, also known as Coleco, in 1985. An animated miniseries that spanned 5 episodes was created based on the characters, and Marvel Comics published an 8-issue limited series about them as well. A read-along record storybook was also produced.
I love the just random stuff that came out. I love that the 80s just had like they're just like throw everything at this, whatever it is, throw it in the marketing machine. If it sells, we're great. If it doesn't, then we just junk it, move on to the next thing.
It's also going to be challenging for me to go to a record shop and not walk up to the counter and be like, yo, you guys got that Sectaurs storybook?
Yeah, you got that Sectaurs limited edition?
Looking for that 1985 Sectaurs storybook on vinyl.
Original press. Is that a thing?
I'm sure it is. I mean, yes, correct. But like, I definitely really want to. I want to legitimately find this vinyl because who the hell knows what's on it? Like that.
I got a record store right up the street from me. I kind of want to go up there and just see if they want to surprise me.
Nice. How hipster are we gonna feel when we walk in and we're just like, do you have a thing that may or may not really have been created from 1985 in stock?
It'd be amazing if it was just like languishing in the back of some like spider fisted box somewhere. I'm just gonna use that term from now on, even when it doesn't make sense. Spider fisted. Yeah. Hey, do you guys want to know what the show is actually about?
Yeah, I want to know, Dave. What's the show about?
All right, so we're gonna change it up a little bit here because the log line for this thing is bonkers. So I'm just gonna read the narration from the theme song, and that'll launch into the discussion of the theme song without doing that. So here we go. Here is the intro narration for Sectaurs. Somewhere in the far reaches of the universe is the star planet Symbion, a perfect world, until their biological experiments exploded, creating an exotic realm beyond all belief. As mutant lifeforms ravaged their global paradise, a new and incredible species emerged, the Sectaurs, with Prince Dargon leading his warriors of the Shining Realm against the evil General Spydrak. He would destroy all to rule all. His terror troops of the Dark Domain know no mercy. The brave, the bold, and the fearless stand with Dargon. The brutal and cruel attack with Spydrak. These are the Sectaurs, the warriors of Symbion. What a bonkers introduction to a cartoon show.
Oh, man.
And we need to talk about this like right now because there is so much going on in this intro. It doesn't even really qualify as a theme song, but the intro is just what?
No, but I mean, like, it goes into this whole thing that we've had recently. I don't know if this is just because we kind of started this trend internally, and then it's sort of like that, like, hey, I bought a blue car, and then you go out and you see blue cars everywhere. but I feel like we've watched a couple shows now where the introductions are very heavy-handed in their exposition. And so it's felt like recently everything that we've watched has been like, let me lead you, listener, through the entire story that is batshit insane. And you're like, yeah, all right, cool. I need that context, in order to actually understand some of this show.
Well, that and so I kind of came across this with one of Hasbro's current properties now that I just reviewed for Collider, which we'll actually post up on the site as well. But their main thing was like they want a story to sell the toy. So most of these cartoons, then and now, are just stories crafted around selling toys and merchandise. So I get that at the beginning they just want to like lay out this exposition that's just like, here's the story, kid. Now go buy these toys.
Yeah. And so this is, I guess, maybe where I kind of I took a little bit of I don't know how to say this. I kind of stepped back from the exposition that was in this intro at the point where they were like, a perfect world until their biological experiments exploded. Man. And so during this sequence of events, they're showing a woman who's sort of like shaking like a test tube or like a beaker.
Yeah, she's quote unquote scientist lady.
And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, why isn't anybody supervising Rachel right now? Like, guys, we could have taken
first day.
I don't want to call in OSHA, but I feel like at some point Rachel should have been following some guidelines, maybe.
And Rachel's the receptionist. She has no business being back here in the biological experiment section.
What is she doing in the lab? Like it's just insane, to see some of this because, all of a sudden, I guess I'm looking at this from the sense that like they have this utopian society. Right. It seems like
on the star planet, whatever the fuck that means.
Star, yeah. I don't understand what qualifies as a star planet. Like, so, God. So I mean, like, we have to think about this in terms of like stars that we're aware of. That's the sun. Sure. So that would mean that there was there was this like area on top of like a burning hot.
Sure.
Like,
so they had a Dyson sphere. It was a Dyson sphere civilization. We'll give it that.
I think the more I think about the exposition in this theme song, the angrier I get about everything.
I had to watch it multiple times. I had to watch it once for the dialogue, just to figure out what was going on, and then once again for the completely insane, over-the-top visual. Yeah.
So as she's shaking this beaker, and this thing is exploding. The whole idea is that whatever this experiment was, which they never really talk about, and we've hit this with like Jason the Wheel Warriors, like whatever the explosion was that has mutated all of the planet, and humanoids even had a component of this as well. Like whatever this was that radiated out from this experiment that, again, we don't know anything about, it was powerful enough, and it wasn't being supervised well, and nobody was watching out, and it took over the entire planet.
Yeah.
Now, I can't stress this enough. Like, we do experiments here on our non-star planet Earth, and these are things that are like really tightly controlled, and like, there's regulations, and people flip out about them. I mean, what was like even a couple years ago when we were trying to find like smaller particles in the universe by like colliding other smaller particles. People were just like,
when they fired up the Hadron Collider.
Yeah.
People were like, we're going to create a black hole and we're all going to die.
Exactly. Like, people were flipping out about that. Like, that was a legitimate concern from people. And
I get being concerned about a big scary thing you don't understand.
Right. I don't think it was a scientifically it was not a scientifically sound concern.
Correct.
But it was a legit concern that people had, in the same way that people are just like, I'm pretty sure the vaccines cause autism. You're just like, you just shut up. You don't know anything what you're talking about.
But even that, like, to your point, like even stuff like that, if any, no, I don't even want to give that an arena here. But if any of the experiments that went on, like the closest thing we even have to that is like nuclear bomb testing, right?
Sure.
I mean, that has been tested, that's been dropped on civilizations. Even something of that scale that was like authorized and signed off on has not wiped out the entire species on our non-star planet. Like even something that big, which was heavily scrutinized, supervised, and there were a lot of people involved. Even that does not wipe out the entire species on a planet.
guys, we've been trying to get rid of Nevada for decades with testing, with nuclear testing in Nevada, and the only thing it gives us is the movie The Hills Have Eyes and a remake of it. So I don't know.
So good on you, Nevada, because that movie was okay.
The original or the remake?
The original was okay. The remake.
I liked the remake. The original was just okay.
Okay.
Fair enough. All right. Agree to disagree.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna explode one of my biological experiments on you. God, that sounded dirty.
Yeah, I know, right?
But I love this. So that was my favorite part of this intro. That line. There's a beautiful planet. It's off in the stars, so we don't know where it is. Everything's great. There's beautiful humans wandering around.
A perfect world, Dave. A perfect fucking world.
Named Symbion. A perfect world. Until their biological experiments exploded. There's nothing. First of all, a biological experiment, even if it explodes, I don't even know what that means. Is that like a fruit fly? Did a fruit fly explode? Probably going to be fine. The fact that something exploded means that it should be gone. There should be nothing left of it.
Right.
Somehow, whatever is in this vial just like goes Swamp Thing, and just like vines start creeping around this woman, and plants start growing, and people start. This was the disturbing part. The visuals, like they just show people literally just like dying and dissolving in front of your eyes, and then they grow back as like this fungus, insect, mutant creature. It's horrific. It's really creepy. They do a good job with that. But then we get like years later, apparently.
Well, I think the interesting thing to kind of piggyback off your idea is that so these things encase people, and then they are born again out of them, and evidently this is a perfect world, but this science experiment gone wrong evidently creates some type of class and race war distinction.
Yeah.
That's among what's going on that turns this into no longer a perfect world.
Yeah, I mean they do say that like new and incredible species emerge. So I'll give it that maybe like over time mutations did give rise to more like humanoid looking creatures. But yeah, I mean to your point, I think the insectoids are just kind of like basically humans again. So I don't necessarily know that the
So you think the insectoids, that the actual like the
no, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that because that is a specific thing in the toys and in the Sectaurs mythology.
Gotcha.
Insectoids, like you mentioned, is a specific thing. So I don't mean that. I mean insect-like humanoids.
Right.
And not inhumanoids. That's another show we've already covered. Just to keep it all straight. This is bonkers. Right. So anyway, I think it just makes the humans, and then the humans have their own reasons for battling. So that's why they split into Dargon and Vidrak.
Well, it's really interesting to note that all races on here are Sectaurs.
Yes.
All right, and so you're either a Sector that follows like the path of light, or you're the Sector that follows the path of darkness.
The dark domain.
The dark domain, and so this is like it's really weird because I mean presumably you're thinking to yourself like these people are all a part of what's going on, like they have gone through like a terrible tragedy, like all of these things have gone like. You're either a citizen of the Shining Realm, or as Dave mentioned, you're a denizen of the Dark Domain. And that to me is just like, wow.
That's it. No gray area, unless you're like a weird farmer out there somewhere.
Like, all it does for me is it calls into question the validity of asserting that you lived in a perfect world. Because if something happened, you would think that like as a community you guys would all kind of band together against like a common evil, like Rachel really fucked us on this.
Rachel's the worst.
But we're now working together to try to fix this, to to understand and live in this new world, and there's some advantages of it, and like we're all together in this battle.
See, I think...
except for the guy who looks like an ant. Like fuck that guy.
I think they all just got like all the humans and everything got wiped out though. I think that this theme song jumps over a gap of possibly millennia. So that like all life was wiped out and mutated, and then eventually new species emerged.
Really?
That's my theory. Because I feel like it's kind of like when we watch like Thundar, when we watch, what was the one with like the Skeleton Warriors?
Sure.
All that stuff where it's like something cataclysmic happens, and then years later, in the near future, all that kind of stuff. It's so like time takes place where there are new species that emerge, and it's like the achievements of the past are gone, And so now we're left to like battle things out in like this medieval way. I mean, they're riding around on these bug like steeds or like flying like dragons or whatever, and they're basically like in medieval times now. Yeah.
So it was just interesting because doing a little bit of research for the show, and looking back on it. So after these this this experiment fails, it says frightening changes take place that cannot be stopped. The results: a world where insects grow to frightening proportions, a world where the inhabitants have taken on awesome characteristics of insects. And so I think it's challenging because I don't know definitively how the storyline or what the progression is going to be. I can see this both ways because it's really
so fucking
weird,
ambiguous and bonkers that
yeah. I mean, to think that we would get cocooned and then grow and have these little like 2 prongs coming out of our foreheads and have the entire like shining realm be completely whitewashed in terms of what they are, and then anybody who's a denizen of the dark domain be all like insects
Creepy
of color,
bug,
like
also insects of color,
insects of color, and you're just like,
ugh. I do like, however, that whatever happened in this world, the lady insect humanoids do still keep their booty short. So
God, you beat me to that.
Well done. Well, it's much later in this episode. But,
yeah, there were some definite moments where I was just like, oh wow, all right.
And it's like, I don't know how I feel about
Sectaurs definitely got booty going on. What's up here?
Sectaurs.
Oh. Oh, how long have you been holding on to that?
Half a second. That's the first time I even came to my mind. I'm happy to say, actually.
Dave, I'm so disappointed, and I'm also very proud of you.
Thanks, Dad. Appreciate that. First time you've ever said that to me.
Anytime. Back to your podcast thing.
Back to your podcast. I'll go back in and fist this spider. All right, Dad. Have a good night being weird. So, anything else from the theme song?
No. So the one final thing that I will say about this, we've kind of hinted at this before, just with the shining realm, and the dark and the darkness that's in this world. The crazy thing is that I will say this: the color game and branding for these people on point. If you're wearing blue, I know you're a good guy.
Good.
If you're wearing any other color, you're definitely a bad guy.
Definitely a bad guy or a poor farmer.
Yeah. Oh God, I can't wait to talk about that.
Well,
God.
How about before we get into that, let's go through some of these characters just briefly, because we're going to hit a lot of these as we go through the discussion. So at least some names and their basic position, just to give you guys kind of an idea of who we're talking about. So we've already mentioned Dargon. So the heroic Sectaurs of the Shining Realm, led by Dargon. He's the prince, and he flies on this horrific bug creature called Dragonflyer. Talk more about these monstrosities in a little bit. But he's got a few allies with him. There's Pinsor, who's basically like, does he have the mustache?
He's the ginger stash.
The ginger stash. So Pinsor, ginger stash. We will definitely talk about him because he's got some great lines of dialogue. We've also got Zack, who's kind of a younger guard, and he's kind of best buddies with Dargon. No mustache.
Who really sort of got the short end of the stick in terms of naming for this.
Zack.
Everybody else is Dargon, Pinsor. You're about to mention Mantor.
Yep.
And then Zack.
And Zack. Not even with a C, though, just Z-A-K.
Just Zack.
Everything else has like futuristic names or like insect names. He's just Zack.
Zack.
So, and then Mantor is, that's Peter Cullen. So, you can hear him. You already know what he sounds like. So good. Amazing. And he's got like the dark mustache and the dark beard, and he's like the wise one of them.
Right.
Okay, so then,
No, he's got that little bit of salt and pepper, and every time he talks, like I think everybody at that point was just like, "Yep, Sectaurs." It's so deep. It's so deep.
I went back through his like entire IMDb catalog just to be like, where else do I know him from? And for anybody out there who's over the age of like 60, you might remember the Smothers Brothers variety show, and he was the narrator for that, or the announcer, the host for that. So anyway. So Mantor, then just some other quick names just to show you how bonkers they are. We've got Stellara, Bodyball, Crossbow, and Gyrofly.
Perfect.
They never show up except Stellara and her booty shorts. But other than that, those are the heroic Sectaurs. You want to lead us through some of the evil Sectaurs of the Dark Domain?
Yeah, let's get into these Dark Domains. We've got General Spydrax. He is the leader of the Dark Domain armies.
The hideous leader.
He's the hideous leader. He has a whip that is coated in poison. Um, Unlike most sectars, he enslaves his animal companions, and so we'll talk about these insectoids that they have that they sort of bond with. But Spidrax is different. He wants to enslave them, so he has Spider Flyer, which is his animal companion. So General Spidrax, big bad guy that we have
kind
here.
It's a lot like a Dino Riders kind of thing going on there,
right? Yeah. Like Krulos, and so we have a Skulk, who is Empress Devora's hideous, opportunistic stepson.
Everybody's hideous in the Dark Domain.
Everybody's hideous. We have Commander Waspax.
The best name.
It's the best name. And that's Spidrax's rival. So again, it's sort of like a Megatron and Starscream scenario. So the other batshit insane names that we have here are Skeeto, Bandor, Knuckles, Flyflinger, Snag, and Axeback.
Sean had a tough time getting through them just because they're so terrible.
I'm laughing. Axeback is the worst name.
They're so funny though, because if you look at the wiki page for these, they explain like what each of these toys look like. So like Flyflinger has a smaller fly that it literally just shoots like out of itself. An Axeback you can probably figure out. So some of these show up in the cartoon, some of these do not. But the main ones that we talked about here will show up in the show. So how does this bonkers thing start? After we've got our intro, what's the first exposure to the world of Symbion after the biological experiments exploded?
It's really just the talking about the fact that isn't it that the hives that they hold so you're given a setup the idea that these hives that are on the planet, that they hold the power to rule the planet.
And that's all they say. They don't say how, they don't say why, they don't say what these things are. You had like 2 minutes of exposition in the theme song, and then it opens with more exposition telling you, oh, by the way, there's more to this. So yeah, these hives, there is secrets, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Consistent exposition through this entire show.
They're really gonna the whole time.
They're really gonna baby bird you as much as possible. But so we have the idea that this is evidently part one of Spidrax's his vicious plan, and so you kind of see them flying towards what looks like a field. You see a bunch of farmers that are outside, and they're farming,
whatever,
just howling. And so all of a sudden they see Spidrax kind of off in the distance, sound an alarm. It looks like Spidrax has like hundreds of soldiers that are either flying or running with torches, and swords, which is an interesting combination. Yes. Because this, without getting too much into it, this show, I am technologically curious where they got stuck in the realm of super science, because they are smart enough to have things like basic swords and fire as weapons, and shields and everything like that, and they ride sort of these insects like mounted steeds
they have
into
like
battle
and stuff,
and so very kind of medieval battle that you would expect, and then suddenly randomly they just have blaster guns.
I think some of them, so they're called like Ven guns or something because they shoot venom, so they're like kind of like dart guns that shoot venom tip dart, stuff like that. I'll tell you what, the Sectaurs, the marketing behind these things, the toy game was super strong because they gave them a ton of accessories, a ton of cool things and weapons, and not outfits or anything, but like accessories that you could go with them. So that was pretty smart. In the show, it's just kind of like, where are they getting all this stuff? And why is it all over the place?
Didn't really make a ton of sense. No. But you know what does make sense?
What's that?
Burning a bunch of fields.
Yeah, set the villagers' field on fire and their home and their thatched roofs.
if you have part one of your plan, you have to figure out what it is. And so part one seems to be burn a field and lure the Sectaurs out into battle.
And part 1A is scare the lone female Sector who's wearing like the pink hot pants. Scare her out of the field and make her say weird lines of dialogue like, "Oh no, it's terrible."
This is one section where sort of the background noise or like the buzz that they added in here for everybody here, and then there's a part when they're at a bar later on where the amount of unnecessary dialogue that's being spoken is woefully unbalanced in terms of the rest of the mix.
Yeah.
And so it is so off because these people who are supposed to just sort of be like whispering are just like, oh no, this is the worst. Oh no, things are happening. Our village is burning. All of our crops. Like, it's jacked up to like a 10 or 11, and you're just like, why are they
screaming calmly? Oh no, someone save us. It's terrible.
Why do they seem so cool with what's happening, but the tragic thing is obviously very apparent from the visuals, so you're just like, this seems like a real disconnect.
And the visuals here are actually pretty terrifying. Like, they lay waste to this village, and to the point that, like, when the Sectaurs do eventually show up, like, most of it is in quite the conflagration. Like, it's up. It is on fire.
Yeah.
It's about done.
So, we're sort of introduced to the Sectaurs. We've got Dargon, and we've got Pinsor, we've got Ginger Stash.
Yep.
And Ginger Stash, can you walk me through what his favorite quote is that he has?
Oh my god. Well, even before him, we are introduced to another younger fellow who we did not mention earlier.
Oh, Sectaurs.
Sectaurs, by the name of Sectaurs. Who he just runs out of nowhere, shouts at the camera, "We've got to shave the shave? We've got to save the shining realm." They kept that outtake in there. It was really distracting.
It's really, yeah. I mean, beards in Sectaurs.
I think it's because he couldn't grow a beard, and everybody else could. He was really upset. We've got to save the shining realm.
Apparent.
What's that?
Still going to shave everything.
Shave everything. Lock this guy back up. It's the village drunk.
Right. So Sectaurs, he is sort of that ambitious youth who is just like, I want to fight and I want to do all these cool things, and he is really prepared because he's got an insect Altafly.
Yeah.
Altafly that he has telekinetically bonded with.
Yeah.
And he's pulling out a sword. He's ready to jump into the field and go fight. He's ready to go toe to toe.
And Altafly is the insectoid that can fly the highest, which whatever the hell that means. Congratulations, Sectaurs. Nice humble brag there, you dick.
Yeah. Everything in this entire area can fly pretty fucking high.
Yeah. But okay, Altafly. I love how they just trash him later, but we'll get to that. Okay.
Yeah.
So Pinsor. All these guys, so just to wrap that up real quick, so I think it's Pinsor that blows the trumpet, signals everybody. Dargon jumps on his dragon flyer, who has the worst battle cry maybe I've ever heard.
Can you imitate it?
No, I can't, because these things are just they just shriek. They just shriek constantly when they're flying around. Yeah, it's very much like that, only 10 times more annoying.
God, it's just
all of them do that. And then when they do get into battle, even the Sectaurs have this weird ululating Xena warrior princess battle cry that they just at each other just constantly.
I didn't realize that was happening until the very end of this episode with Spydrax, and we'll have to get back into that at the end, because I was just like,
we'll just go back and forth like they do, because they just bellow at each other.
What the fuck is going on?
Stupid. All right, so that's all happening. They're mounting the response to Spydrax's attack, right? So everybody's running out or flying out on their insectoids. So now Pinsor has this, what's it called, the blue beetle? Battle beetle. So it's this massive beetle that he kind of just it's a tank, basically.
Yeah.
But he's out there and he's just yelling at all the terror troopers, and he says a few choice phrases, and you can probably pick out his favorite word here, because he does say this 3 different times.
Go ahead, hit
us.
The
first one is, I wouldn't do that, maggots. And the next one is, ha ha ha, how do you like that, you maggots? This guy likes maggots.
And he says this, and he says it enough and with enough frequency that very early on you're just like, this is gonna be this guy's catchphrase, isn't it?
Oh yeah, because did you watch the second episode?
Yeah.
Nice, because I only could watch the first half of it, but there's a great moment. Okay, so he's, without giving anything away from that second episode, at one point he's calling people maggots again. Do you remember what happens to him as he's calling them maggots?
Does he get hit with a maggot?
He gets shot in the head. Gets shot in the head. And I mean, they have this armor that's super strong, so it just shoots him in the helmet and he falls over a cliff. And I just lost it. I was like, that's the greatest thing ever. Okay, but before we get to all that, we're still back in this burning village. Pinsor is calling people maggots and chasing them around. And,
right.
I mean, Spydrax pretty much lays out his plan to everybody. Anybody
Yeah.
within listening distance, we're like, oh, now we know Spydrax's plan. He needs to steal this scroll because it has a map to what's called the Hive of the Ancients, and he can somehow use that to rule Symbion. Cool,
Right.
I guess.
So so while he is monologuing
Yeah,
outside, I think is it Skeeto?
it is Skeeto.
That's
Yep.
Skeeto. Like
Oh, now I
mosquito,
get it.
presumably. Um, he has a little insectoid that is called it's toxic with the D, so it's like toxid
Sure.
is what they call it.
It's
I
basically
don't know.
like a tarantula kind of looking thing.
Yeah, actually it sort of looked like a beetle. It had like a really
Oh,
big
did it?
abdomen.
No,
Yeah.
I thought it was
It had a big abdomen and it shot venom
sure.
out of like its little beetle nose. I don't know insects. This is
Good enough.
some of
Well,
of
it
this
doesn't
is
make
hard
sense
for
because
me.
some of these things look like half bulldog, half spider, so you have no clue what this
Right.
thing's supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So so they sneak up into this area that is presumably in like the prince's tower,
Yeah.
like in part of his kingdom, with the intent of stealing, as we've mentioned before, and this is very important, these hives have the power to rule the planet.
Sure.
And so evidently there are a series of maps that will help you get there, will unlock some of the secrets. And so Mantor is again Peter Cullen and is monologuing. He's like, the secrets to the Great Hive will never belong to the dark domain. And this is as Skeeto is like trying to wrestle these away from him. They're fighting. This battle ensues, and it really looks like Mantor is just gonna fuck him up.
Oh yeah.
And then suddenly Toxid just out of nowhere, which I'm just like, how did you not see this coming? Just like just gushes,
Closes him
just
down.
gushes him in venom, and it just imagine Peter Cullen's deep voice just going as he's passing out and withering in pain. He just goes venom.
Venom.
You're just like, whoa.
Like, yeah, Peter Cullen, still Sectaurs.
Yeah.
Down.
That got real sexy, real fast.
And down. Turns out I like Venom. Who knew?
Who knew?
I
learned something new about myself today.
Yeah, exactly.
I like Venom.
Something weird happens after this point. So, like, after Toxid does this and Mantor's, like, down for the count, Skeeto has the map. You'd think he'd be like, great job, buddy. What an awesome insect pal you are. You're the best. Thanks for saving my bacon and getting the map. We're going to be the best friends ever for life. Right?
No, he just, like, punts him.
Yeah,
he
just
begins kicking him.
Like a rabid dog or something. He just kicks him. He just saved his life, by the way, and he just kicks him to the curb. So obviously these guys are jerks. Just reminding you that these guys are jerks. So meanwhile, while all this is happening, we've got Dargon and Spydrax. I can't even say their names.
I know.
Dueling in the air, just shouting at each other. They're like yodeling at each other.
The one where he goes like,
it's just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Were you doing like vocal warm ups and you just decided to use that in the track? I don't get it. This was kind of a grueling fight though, because they're like slashing at each other and cutting off bits and pieces of their insect.
Right.
They're like cutting off legs and antenna, and there's like this green ichor, this blood that's just spilling out. It's pretty gross.
Again, like Spydrax has a whip that's like covered in like a lethal poison, and he's just whipping off parts of this.
The dragonflyer?
Yeah, the dragonflyer.
Yeah.
And so, but then to follow this up, we got this prince. He's doing a ton of damage to everybody.
Yeah.
He's like cutting and chopping people like to bits.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like, all in all, I'll say this. I appreciate this show for the fact that like they didn't try to. Now, I know that it'd be something totally different, and maybe this is why they did this.
What's that?
Is that like it's harder to show like violence and like red blood.
You can't.
But if you're an insect, if you're an insect person
got, like,
and you're riding insects, and you've got like little like green gushing going on there, like everybody's just like, oh, I don't really give a fuck.
Nah,
like
I'd rip those legs off myself.
And it's not considered like abuse towards an animal, like for kicks or like kicking your little pal, because who gives a shit? It's just a little weird beetle thing. Nobody cares.
I care, Sean. I'm from the Shining Realm, and I want to shave it. Okay, so with all this craziness going on, Dargon, I keep wanting to call him like Dagron, Dragon, something. Dargon gets separated.
Just call him Prince. Call him Prince
what
D.
Up? Yeah, what up,
Prince D?
Prince D. Yeah, but then there's Prince S too. I don't want to get him confused.
Okay.
So anyway, Dargon has to go off and help put the fires out in the village, and that gives Spydrax and his folk a chance to get away. And now they've got the map.
Yeah,
There's like
again though, like this is a technologically advanced society, and they're still doing a bucket brigade.
Yeah. Well, don't they like load up a bug with water and spray it? I feel like that was. Oh no, they don't. That was what I was waiting for them to do, and they do not do that. Yeah.
Prince D is flying past a water tower, and he just cuts the spigot off of it, and it sends like a deluge down onto the rest of the field.
Yeah.
I mean, it fixes the problem, but at the same time, all these people who are displaced and now presumably homeless are just getting swept up in this current and just knocked back.
And also have no drinking water or bathing water or cooking water now because Prince D just up and slashed it all to bits. Well, whatever. We'll deal with that on another episode or never talk about it again. So at this point, they put out the fires. Everything's great. But they still got to go get Spy Dragon. Who wants to assist them in this fight?
Well, I wanna say this as we're getting introduced again to Sectaurs, who I believe you're mentioning.
Yes.
So after the entire fight is done, and right in that moment, so Red Stash puts his hand on Prince D's shoulder, and he's like, "You did good, young prince."
Yeah.
And they cut to a shot of all the people who are in the town. It's a field that has nothing in it, and it's all these like haggard looking people, all these peasants that have nothing, and he's just like, this is the voiceover of just like, "You did good, young prince," as they're showing all of these displaced, now refugee people that have been created as a result of this
and
war.
they all have to go live in the dark domain now. They have to cross the border. They have to get there any way possible. Terrible.
You think about this. This is the best recruitment tool that the dark domain has.
They're
just like, we're not gonna come and attack your bases. If the Sectaurs come, they're going to come in very limited numbers, and they also have ethics. We, on the other hand, zero ethics. Your house is going to stay untouched for as long as you want to kick puppy dog insects, because we don't give a fuck.
That's a great recruitment.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's good. I can't wait to put together their video. So, like you said, Sectaurs comes up to the rest of them. He's sort of like what were the musketeers, the new musketeer that had joined in the actual book, the Three Musketeers.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking
not like
more
D'Artagnan or something.
I don't remember.
That,
it might have been because I don't remember their names ever. Like every time that Jeopardy question comes up, I invariably get it wrong. But I was thinking more like Seven Samurai or
okay, yeah,
or I can't remember his name. But basically, the guy who's like an unproven warrior wants to come and hang out with the big boys and prove himself, and they're just like, "Go home, kid. Like you're gonna get hurt. Please, just let us do our thing." That's kind of what Sectaurs is.
The line that they have for him is, "It's too dangerous," and he's like, "Oh, shucks."
Man. Yeah.
Okay.
He's essentially like the kid in every cartoon, every like action cartoon from the 80s that is always getting into trouble, and then the heroes have to come and rescue him, but they don't want to kill him because that would be wrong. So he's just basically that guy. I love after this that they go back after they've kind of like sent Sectaurs off, and they're like, "Well, we don't have to worry about him the rest of this episode." Yeah. They go back and they check on Mantor. Do you remember what I believe it's Pinsor yells as they see him lying on the ground?
I do, because I wrote it down.
He
just so Mantor is obviously, so Peter Cullen is on the ground, and Gingerbeard is standing over top of him, and he's holding something that looks like an egg.
Yeah.
It looks like an egg, and he just goes, and he's breaking it over top of Mantor, and he just goes, "Wretched powder is worse than the poison."
Oh, that was a good line too, but I like the one he said before that.
Oh, what'd he say?
"Don't touch him. He's covered in venom." It's just the way he said venom. So sexy.
This is very quickly becoming Sectaurs After Dark.
All right. So we've healed up Mantor, and now at this point, Prince Dargon and Zack have to go off in search of Spydrax to try to get the map back. We're fairly far through our show right now. We are not very far through this episode, by the way.
No.
Maybe a third.
All of this is happening at an alarming rate, and I want to say that like we mentioned about the whole Sectaurs thing. He comes in again and he says that he talks about, and he drops something. He says, "Telebonded. I'm telebonded to Altafly."
Yep.
And I'm just like, that is the most interesting thing that we have heard to date.
Yeah.
And they step over it.
Yep.
With an alarming speed, where you're just like, so what?
Wait, what is the thing?
I mean, this is when they say this, you're just like, this in some way is going to be like is going to be your Deus Ex Machina, or this is going to be a thing that you use. Like, you just introduced something that's incredibly, like, you guys look like fucking weirdos.
Yeah.
All right. And you just introduced something that seems really complicated, but also sort of like an innate power that all of you have.
Yeah.
And you just don't want to talk about it and share it with the rest of the audience. Like, I got a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, I mean, and there's even more minor stuff, like when they're talking about going after Spydrax, they're like, well, it's getting dark out there, and they can see in the dark, and we can't. And I'm like,
right.
That's interesting. Maybe talk about that for a second. Or, I mean, that's fine, because that's really all you need to say. But I'm like, why?
You can't see in the dark? Because your eyes fucking glow at certain weird points.
I just assumed that they were like more insect eyes, and the other guys were like human eyes. But whatever, they just drop that line and then leave it like, oh, okay. And then they don't follow up on anything at all, but whatever. So now we've got Dargon and Zack who are flying off to go after Spydrax, basically going to his lair. There's a line here that killed me, and I had to rewind it a couple of times just because of the way it's like it's positioned. Yeah. Okay. So they're trying to kind of like sneak up, and they have to go through these canyons and this kind of like rocky pass and everything to get to his lair. And Dargon, of course, because every hero in every cartoon has to say this, goes, "It's too quiet." At which fucking point, Dragonflyer starts screaming his head off. His insect bug that he flies on just starts just screaming in the middle of this canyon. I'm just like, what are you doing? The worst bug ever. But it doesn't matter because nobody else hears them. So this was kind of like a weird battle, right? How did they? Okay.
This is this is the moment where Secor is just sort of like, he's very defiant against the "it's too dangerous" request, and he goes, sneaks in, gets apprehended.
So he went off by his own first before Dargon and Zack went after him. Yeah.
Right. So, so Zack and Prince D are just like, we're gonna go take care of this. Yeah. They have no idea that Secor has been captured.
No, I think they do. I think they do at this point, because their plan is to get him and get the map and get out of there.
Oh, is it?
I think so. I thought they said that we have to go get the Secor. Like, where's that kid Secor with that bug thing? I thought.
Okay.
With Altafly, because at one point when they bring Secor into Spydrax, then Spydrax is like, Dargon must not be far behind. I've got a plan for him.
Yeah, double the guards.
Which did not help.
Did not help at all.
Because basically these two guys, Dargon and Zack, just like manhandle everybody in there, and it looks like they're just gonna waltz out of the place with everything they need.
Like, statistically, it looked like a good Sector, like from the Shining Realm, was worth about 5 or 6
half dozen,
like dark domain Sectors, like just in terms of like skill, strength.
I think they did have blasters at this point too. I think you're right.
They did,
They straight up had laser blasters at this point.
Yep.
Oh boy, it makes no sense.
It's
and speaking of making no sense, it made no sense for them to come into this room and fight, because they left with nothing.
No.
They have like no map.
Yeah. They managed, the bad guys managed to escape again with the map. Yep. And Zack and Prince D are just like, all right, well, I guess we have to exit this base the same way that we entered it, which was just
loudly,
like,
and blatantly.
And then where do we go to next? Because I feel like
let's hit the bar.
Let's talk about
this. Let's talk about lady butts.
Let's talk about
Sector
lady butts,
because they zoomed right in on this sucker.
Yeah.
And at first I thought it was just going to be like one of those passing shots, right, where they do like a waitress will pass in front of the camera and then she'll disappear or whatever, just kind of like wipe across the screen. No. This is a major character who's like a female warrior in this show. She doesn't do anything except serve drinks in this episode, but
and they very clearly followed her butt.
I mean, I'm into Venom. I'm kind of into insect butt now. But,
we're learning a lot about ourselves tonight.
The internet is an enabler.
Oh, jeez.
So, okay, we go from going to the bar, hanging out with insect butt. She says something, nobody really pays attention, and then all of a sudden,
Well, nobody pays attention because, again, the dubbing on the people who were in the bar, like the background bar noise is twice as loud as the actual conversation that's going on with our main character.
Honestly, is fairly realistic. Let's be honest. Let's give them that. Realistic. Not great for a dramatic show.
Not in terms of balance for us to be able to understand a single fucking word.
You know what? I understood 3 words from Mantor. You know what those 3 words were?
Yeah.
Lake of
No, what?
Blood.
Love. Yes,
Guess what,
that's
guys?
right.
We're going from the bar to the Lake of Blood. Why? Who the fuck knows? But we're going to
Yeah.
get on a boat and we're going to go sail the Lake of Blood. Good times. Because cartoons.
God. Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave. What do you know
I actually
about
have
Lake
some
of
trivia
Blood?
from behind the name. Do you know what it is?
Get into it.
This was apparently
No.
so named because of a great air and sea battle fought there by the great-grandparents of King Markor and Empress Devora. Said battle cost nearly 1 million lives. Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
That's from the mythology, which, honestly, I think from the comic book, the toys, and this cartoon, there is some cool mythology here. It's just this show was just poorly put together, kind of bonkers. What do you got?
Well, I mean, you I would say nobody has ever returned from the
Also
Lake
true.
of
Literally 1
Blood.
million people never returned. This was one of the most interesting things of the show. I don't know why I'm wagging my finger at you right now, but this was I was aggressively
you're really
wagging.
getting disciplinarian
I
right
also
now.
like that. This was one of the most interesting parts of the show for me, and I hated that they just skipped right over it. There's like this cool little classical Greek legend mythology thing that they throw in here and put their own insect spin on it, which I thought was really cool. And then they just like, nope, we solved this thing, on to the next thing. That's terrible.
But let's talk about
please.
what this is. So everybody's familiar. I believe this is what like
I mean,
Jason
it
and the
could be a
Argonauts,
number of
right?
different things.
With the
Yeah,
Siren's Call,
but it could also be
like it's from the
Odyssey.
Odyssey. It could be from the Iliad. Yeah. So probably the best known from the Odyssey is sort of the Siren's Call to kind of lure in people on ships,
usually
to
sometimes
their doom,
mermaid,
and so right. And so we have this siren that is unnamed, and as we have our dark domain dwellers approaching, they're just like, oh no, we're gonna get sucked up in the in the Siren's Call, like we're gonna get like this is gonna affect us. And Spydrax is like, just put beeswax in your ears, and I'm just like, that's actually
it was smart, but it was a weird
smart.
thing to hear like General Spydrax say. It's just like, just tell the men to put some beeswax in their ears, and we'll be fine.
I'm just surprised that he didn't like roundhouse kick him in the head and just be like, when I want your opinion, I'll fucking ask for it.
I'm gonna jam beeswax in your ears, and you better not ask why.
Jesus. So
hey, what kind of insect do you think Jesus would be in this world? What's insect Jesus?
Oh my god.
Oh, I got it. I
praying
fucking knew
mantis.
It. Nailed it. Nicely done.
I got it.
This is why we get along so well. A praying mantis.
I know.
Oh, I love it.
Oh god.
I want to see that cartoon.
So, Jesus is the praying mantis.
Sectaurs.
Oh man, that'd be interesting. So, speaking of seeing it, this is the point where the Sectaurs, our good guys, Prince D and crew, hear the Siren's Call, and they get these weird, like glossed over eyes,
just like all white eyes.
And so except for Prince D,
he was like sleeping
everybody
or something down in
gets
that hold. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, like, but when you're sleeping, it doesn't prevent your auditory function.
He was like under the. He wasn't out in the open. Under the whatever.
Yeah, like he was in the bowels of the ship, right? So they're going. So everybody gets sucked in. Prince D is trying to like wake everybody up. He's trying to get them like to come to their senses. They don't. They crash the ship. He gets thrown overboard. Like he jumps overboard. They all crawl into an enormous amount of spider webs and ensnare themselves. And so right now, all of the good Sectaurs are ensnared. This woman that you keep cutting to is sort of just continually playing this like very melodic.
Yeah, you just see her hands on like these silk strings. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, this was known as the Isle of the Web Widow. This was Spydrax knew about it, but Mantor did not. So they ended up at the Isle of the Web Widow.
So they are. So all of the good guys are stuck by this Web Widow. We have Prince D, who kind of like sneaks in.
He does a predator move
to the castle.
He does a predator move.
He does. This is fucking. I know. I love this so much. So he's just like, he just goes, I need to protect myself. So he just rubs mud all over his body. He just like rubs swamp mud. He's like, oh, I won't stick to the webbing with this. And I was just like, Yeah, you know what? You're an insect human.
Yeah.
You would know this shit. I'm a normal human. I don't have any reference.
I also want to know
reference.
which thing stole it from the other thing. Was it Predator that took it from Sectaurs, which would be weird as shit, or the other way around?
I don't remember. This was 1985. When did Predator
was later,
come
but I
out?
could be wrong. I thought it was like 88, 85.
Oh man, I don't. Predator was 87.
Shit, Predator stole it from Sectaurs.
Predator,
Arnold
yeah.
Schwarzenegger owes his life to Dargon insect prince.
Yeah.
All right, so what's he up to? Pretty smart.
But here's the best part. Here's the craziest thing. So he sneaks in. All right, he still gets this web widow, ambushes him, and jumps on his back, holding him. And she's like, "I've got you now." He tosses her up off his back, kicks her, and then shoots her with venom, all at the same time. This is like one fluid motion. Like this is like one kind of very weird Tai Chi kind of like. He had been prepping for this his entire life. It was like flip this web woman widow and then kick her in the face and then shoot her with a gun. And you're just like...
And then that's exactly what happens in Predator.
And that's it. That is it. That is all that happens. They are done and they are moving on with the rest of this journey.
It was like, oh, this was such a cool villain that they could have done. Like, you could have honestly done an entire episode just based around this. Like, if you set up the beginning, Spidrax steals the map, and he's off on his quest to get it. And now guess what? Now our heroes have to go track him down. And then, oh, guess what? This guy Secor got caught up in the mix, and we have to go save him too. Guess what, guys? These are parts of the step along your journey. Maybe don't rush through them in 30 seconds by smearing swamp mud on.
This is also really cool because so far we've only heard about two factions. We've only heard about a light and a dark faction that are on here. This is a totally independent third faction
just likes to eat people.
Has no allegiance to anybody.
He just wants to eat.
I got a weird like Pirates of Darkwater vibe from.
I mean,
from this part,
mostly because the
like,
Lake of Blood and Isle of the Web Widow, but I dig it. So then, I mean, he rescues everybody. They kick Web Widow in her ass and shoot her full of venom, and then leave her behind. So they just move on, and the next thing they come across is the injured Altafly, because Altafly managed to escape being captured when Secor was captured. When he was captured.
When he was shaved. He was shaved, Dave.
So Altafly managed to escape, but he kind of like got hit. He sort of crash landed outside of base. So Mantor, in his wisdom, wants to take care of him. Do you remember what Mantor says?
What he does the
that,
the telebond,
but he also says he's badly wounded. Get my medicines. I just love medicines.
That's right.
He's just got a satchel of medicine.
It's just, and it's one little vial of like a red liquid, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's how Rachel started this whole shit, Manticore. So maybe fucking put this in check a little bit.
Make him feel better. Okay.
Yeah.
Bug drugs. Bug drugs in a tube. Speaking of bugs, so we get another insect ally who was not part of either faction.
Yeah.
We get this cool ass tunnel worm, who basically is just like this giant caterpillar that just chows down on rocks and makes tunnels everywhere.
If you were thinking to yourself, what does a tunnel worm do? Exactly what you think it does. They are not trying to hide the functionality of this new insect.
Tunnel worm.
Anyway, there needs to be zero amount of additional exposition about what this insect does.
Picture like a graboid if you're having a really hard time picturing what a tunnel worm does and or looks like.
Oh, a graboid. Okay.
I love the fact that these guys are like, we're going to use this innocent creature, do our bidding, and surprise Spidrax, and we're going to be real dicks about it in the process.
Yeah.
Because they need to point this worm in a general direction so they can pop out underneath the Spidrax camp and surprise everybody. So they use their own insects to like push the tunnel worm off to the side and like knock them in the direction they want them to go. So kind of dicks. Everybody's kind of a bug dick. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
That was the third movie. There was Bugs Life, Ants, and Everybody's a Bug Dick. All came out around the same time. Lesser known.
DreamWorks had a really bad.
And then Jerry Seinfeld was a bee for some reason. Moving on.
Oh god, don't get me started.
All right, so they sneak up. They use tunnel worm. They sneak into this camp, and everything is so fucking loud. I don't know how they snuck in there, but it managed to work. And
followed by the Spidrax just doing his like
just Xena warrior call again. And it's just another fight, which honestly they're not that interesting because you still don't really know who anybody is. Nobody's really been introduced.
No.
We just kind of know it because of the internet. However, at one point, Spydrax does call on one of his allies to blindside Dargon. This is amazing. This is an amazing sequence. Do you remember this part? Okay, so
No, go
Spydrax
ahead.
says, Waspax, get the prince or whatever, get Dargon.
Oh,
And I'm laughing because his name is
yeah.
Waspax. Waspax comes up, and this is his shining moment, right? This is the best possible opportunity he has to take out the prince of the Shining Realm. And it's literally his only 3 seconds on the screen in this entire episode. He comes running up from behind Dargon to like hit him with his axe, and Dargon's Dragonflyer bug just like boop, just puts out a leg and just kicks him off screen. He launches him off screen. And that's the end of Waspax. You never see him again. Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Oh,
and then
God.
at some point they rescue
have a-
Secor. I don't even know how or when that happens.
Oh well, this is again. We talk
Yeah.
about shining moments for Waspax. This becomes a shining
Yes.
moment for Secor because at this point, there is a dagger that Spydrax is throwing at Prince D, and everybody's like, "No!" And Secor throws his body in front of it to like sort of, I mean, he throws himself. He takes a
basically,
bullet,
just like a sword-shaped bullet.
for Prince D.
Except
Right.
it bounces off of his armor.
like,
it doesn't
just
do
bounces
anything.
off,
He
like,
doesn't
there's
take a shot.
Like, yeah, like in terms of like a shining moment, like,
Yeah.
I will say this, in Secor's defense,
Oh yeah.
very brave. Like, he thought he was sacrificing himself, and this dagger just like hit his armor.
Just bounced
and
off.
bounced
It hit him like
off.
hilt first. It wasn't even a good throw. And then the craziest, not even the craziest part, but another funny part happens next. It's basically like Dargon says, "Oh, thanks, Secor. I owe you one." I'm like, motherfucker, this guy got himself captured because you told him not to go and he went anyway. You risked your life and the life of your weird insect pals to go save him, and you just saved his life. Pretty sure at best
I'm
you're
pretty sure
even.
he owes you like
at
two.
best you're even, and at worst he owes you at least another one.
Yeah.
But like, okay.
Yeah.
And then you think like, okay, now Secor, at one point they're like, "You're a brave boy, and someday you'll be a warrior like us." You think that that's like, great, okay, now he's part of the team. However,
No, he's not. Because in this moment, they tell him, they're just like, it's going to get too dangerous from here on out. And they say this to Secor. Now, keep in mind, there are 4 Sectaurs that are up against an entire army of Spydrax's minions, all right? And they are severely outnumbered, severely outgunned, and out-resourced in every way, shape, or form. And they have finally rescued this captive, and they're just like, okay, like, you've obviously shown that you can be useful,
Plus
you
one,
can be
right?
brave, like you've proven yourself. And they're just like,
now go home.
And he just goes, all right, and then just gets on Ultifly and
He
takes
goes,
the
"I
fuck
know."
off.
Zoop, gone. The whole episode is complete waste. He's like, "Well, yeah, you're probably right." Zoop.
He's been fighting for 20 minutes to get to this point, and then they're just like, you should go home. And that's the moment that he decides to just be like, you know what, I should probably
That was the
listen
line.
to you guys.
That is all it could take. Time to go home.
Jesus
He just fucking
Christ.
takes off. And then we leave with like a stinger, insect pun. We leave with a stinger. Dargon and the Sectaurs are ambushed by Spydrax's terror troopers. And that's normally where we'd leave it, but Sean and I did watch a bit of the second episode. So do you want to tease anything from that? I got one line that was just like, what the fuck, you guys?
All right, let's hit it with that line, and then I wanna review this.
Okay, we'll keep that. We'll keep that. Actually, I got 2 lines. I'm sorry. And we'll keep it pretty short because we're getting a little long on time. But basically, they're in an ambush and they're trying to get their way out of it. So at one point, the good guys set up a kind of ambush of their own. Now, if you've heard the line, "Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes," then you understand what this strategy is about, right? You wait till they get close and then you shoot so you don't miss. However, Dargon, for whatever reason, decides to give that same order, but in the following words: "Wait till you can spit on them, then open up." I heard this the first time and I was just like, I don't know what that means. Like, if I was one of your soldiers, I'd be really confused. Do you want me to spit on them? What am I opening up? It was a very disturbing line. Not as disturbing as another one later on. I think they get trapped in a hive later on. Yeah. And Zach, in his immaturity, I guess, says, he shouts, "Why did that thing blow us in here?" And that made me laugh because I'm 12 years old. And then hearing Pincer or hearing Mantor yell, "Pincer, no! Ah, Hive fluid!" in Peter Cullen's voice was pretty amazing. Yeah, but then honestly, that's about all I have for Slave City, the second episode, because I had had enough Sectaurs by that point, and I feel like we have had enough Sectaurs on this episode, so we're gonna wrap it up there. Do you have anything else from the episode that we watched tonight before we head to Love It or Hate It?
I'm good. Let's
All right,
jump
buddy.
in.
Well, we have opinions, but people out there have opinions as well. Some loved it, some hated it. There were a total of 3 reviews on IMDb. We pulled 2 of them, so Sean's gonna take the first one.
Yes. So this is oh god. This is from Fat Bars
Sure
Tard.
Fat Bastard. Just with a Z.
Fat Bastard. With a Z from Brazil in 2001. It says a decent cartoon series of the 80s. Almost 16 years has passed, and I never heard nothing new about this incredible cartoon. Or better, I don't know nothing about this series. Like, here in IMDb, they said there's only 5 half-hour episodes. I don't think so. I watched a good quality episode, at least 15. Where's the DVDs, CDs, tapes? Oh, yes. The toys are awesome, too.
So I don't know that that's...
That's a
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
I don't know that that's really a review, just kind of a rambling incoherencies, but that's fine. My favorite part is that this review that follows is a direct reply to the previous one. It is from Sean C. Collins from back in 2007. He answers 6 years later this review with only 5 episodes. Sorry. This was a short series with a short toy line to follow it. From what I've been able to gather, it was meant to follow on the success that He-Man had during the previous few years. I had several of the toys and remember watching it when it was shown originally in my area. It's been on a few times since, but not in the past 10 years at least. A lot of the voice actors are easily recognizable and remind me to watch other great cartoons. 5 episodes only, great story, cool toys. Could have used a few more seasons, in my opinion. If you like short series, try watching Visionaries or Inhumanoids. So not much of a review, just kind of explaining to another reviewer from 6 years previously that there were only 5 episodes. Thanks, Sean C. Collins. You're doing the Lord's work. You are doing Mantis Jesus' work. All praise Mantis Christ. All right, buddy. What do you... Oh, let's recommend or not this one. So do you recommend Sectaurs, and if not, does it get the dip?
I recommend Sectaurs.
What in the world?
Yeah, I do.
Why?
This was just batshit insane enough. And I love going into it knowing that there's only going to be a couple episodes. I think for something like this, like, I can stomach how bad this is going to be, especially because there seem to be so many parts, like you said, like even in the second episode where Red or Ginger Stash gets like shot in the head. Like, there are some pretty laughable comedic moments that are not intended to be laughably comedic at all. But I think sort of the visual style that they have in terms of the storytelling and how it kind of contrasts with what's actually being displayed during that time, sort of like, you've done a great job, Prince, showing like all of the peasants that have been have their lives destroyed. This cartoon almost seems to have no awareness of itself and the tragedy that it's causing other people. And so right. And so it for that alone, given the fact that it's only 5 short episodes, I would recommend checking this out, because I think this is something that, again, like we've seen this time after time, toy line begats cartoon, and the toys I think were pretty great in my opinion. Of having been a child who played with these back in the day, I think they were pretty great. And I think that something that's an extension of that, I think, is very interesting in terms of the mythos that it tries to introduce.
Cool. I don't know if I'd go quite as strong as you with recommending it. However, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Van DeWitt, who actually suggested this particular series to us back in the day, a month or so ago, maybe a little bit longer. So because this is February Listener Appreciation Month, just wanted to thank Van DeWitt for suggesting this series. And you guys feel free to do so as well if there's any craziness out there we missed. I'm so glad that they recommended this just because I'd never seen it before. So it was super fun for me to watch, completely insane. I really do like the mythology that's here. There's a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of like world building and mythos and really cool names of places. I feel like you could have like a really good RPG kind of setup in these worlds. They really do go into like, yeah, if you want to get super nerdy about it. They do have that level of depth in the mythology that you could really dig into it. It's just this cartoon was just kind of like, it's just a commercial to sell the toys. And unfortunately, I thought it could have been more than that, but it wasn't. So I'm not going to give it a strong recommendation. But if you're curious enough about what we talked about here tonight, then you can check out the 5 episodes. You can find them online. As for us, Sean, buddy, what do you have coming up in the next couple of weeks?
Guys, as always, I do improv comedy in DC. You can check it out, witdc.org. If you happen to be in San Diego in February, as you normally would, I'm going to be performing as a part of the San Diego Improv Festival. That is going to be February 17th. I think it's sdimprovfest.org. You can check it out for showtimes and tickets that are there. And as always, I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Sean Paul
Excellent.
Ellis.
You can find me on Twitter at Dr. Claw MD. You can also find me on Collider.com, Nerdist.com, and DaveDrumbour.com. If you want to find out more about the show, you can do so at our Patreon site, patreon.com/Saturday Morning Cartoons, or you can simply head to our website, SaturdayMorningCartoons.com. Remember, that's morning with a U, just like Sectaurs. You can also follow us on Twitter at MorningTunes. Check out Sean's handiwork on our Instagram page. Keep the conversation going on Facebook. Listen to us through YouTube or each and every week for free in our audio podcast through iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. If you want to get a suggestion in like Van DeWitt, you can send us an email, SaturdayMorningCartoons@gmail.com. Next week, we are going to continue February Listener Appreciation Month, but guess what? We're not going to tell you what the show is because you need to subscribe to our Patreon in order to find out in advance. One of the perks of being a member of our Patreon pledge drive. I will tell you, however, that next week's episode was suggested by Roy Gordon. So we just want to give Roy a quick shout out there, and we will talk about him again next week when we talk about Mystery Show. Mystery Show. He thought I'd pick you out.
I've been sufficiently
Ooh,
teased.
Delicious. Now we're going to take a Sector. Thank you guys for listening. Until next time, this has been Saturday Morning Cartoons. See you next time.
Hey, everybody. Thanks a lot for listening to Saturday Morning Cartoons. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to transform and roll out.